How did the fruit tree project get started at our church?
Well, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, a group of people came and wanted to put some fruit trees on the property. But back then, Eastminster was just starting up the community garden, and we weren't sure how that would work. But after the community garden went in, we could see we had all this other space, and then the Portland fruit tree people came, and they were looking at a couple different sites besides ours, and they chose this site, and that's where we got started.
And was the ground ready for it?
No, this ground set pretty pretty bare with nothing growing on it for a few decades. So we had to do a little bit of prep work for it, but now with the things we've done, it's in pretty good shape. There's lots of bugs, and the earth is doing well.
And how does the orchard connect to our community?
Well, we bring in people that we wouldn't ordinarily see. It gives people a chance too to work in the environment and work with other people. It's a relationship building process, and the fruit benefits a lot of different people.
Awesome. Thank you, Clay.
You're welcome.
So it all started, I'll tell you that, from a year or so ago when I happened to listen to a Science Friday episode about pocket prairies and went to a missions and outreach meeting later that night. And Tub had listened to the same Science Friday episode, and we talked about pocket prairies. And him being from Eastern Oregon and knowing the importance of meadowscaping and the roles that prairies played in Oregon's history and also our cultural history and for Native folks too, we thought that's probably a good project for these concrete garden beds. So we started to do that. Now this one is a rain garden. I wrote a small grant, and we were able to get some funding from East Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District. So we were able to create a rain garden here, and we have two pocket prairies. One of them we called Tubbs Pocket Prairie. That's my joke, actually, but yeah. So, and then the other piece, the component of the space grant that we got was to do some watershed health. So that ties into my youth turtle monitoring service. And then also we painted salmon. We're going to be placing these along our fence, along our community garden and our back fence and the areas back there. And these are just a few of my favorites. I'd like to show you these. These are painted by church members and friends. And they have all sorts of messages. So we're really hoping that the way to show support for our watershed health with our pocket prairies and our community salmon project, art project, is that these kind of projects like bring us together and connect us. It helps. It'll also beautify our space, and it's also important for us to remind ourselves as people of faith or spirituality folk that it's good to take care of our little corner and patch of the planet. So thank you.
I'd like to share with you something I heard earlier this week when I attended a gathering of faith leaders and politicians to talk about homelessness. The pastor that opened the event talked about Jesus as a homeless rabbi, and I thought that really rang true for me and stuck with me throughout the week. You know, in the way that we shine and Park Rose Community United Church of Christ are working together, I think of us as going beyond the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have them do unto you, to the platinum rule, it's sometimes called, where it's
Platinum rule, I like that.
do unto them as they would have you do to them, because that implies that you need to understand where others are coming from and how their experience may be different from yours, and what makes you feel safe and empowered and comfortable is not necessarily the same as how they experience. I think We Shine and Park Rose Community United Church of Christ together are trying to understand and empathize with the strangers, with others, and to give with no expectation of getting anything back, but as part of serving and helping ourselves achieve that goal is to build a stronger, more accepting, compassionate, and just world, one neighborhood at a time,
Exactly.
one little village at a time. I've always really believed in the sort of thought of trying to light one candle in the darkness, and or that old tale about the millions of starfish on the beach and throwing one starfish back. You do what you can do, one act at a time, one day at a time. Don't wait for someone else to do good or to solve a problem. We might have been trying to do it by ourselves, but we've certainly come to realize that everything's working better when we work together. And coming into this community, what a robust and rich environment there is here is going to make our first village so much better than it would have been if we were just sort of sticking it out somewhere without being connected to a community like this.
And I think the society as a group project also is very valuable to us because we know We Shine and Park Rose are going to look to the outside of society to bring in their gifts also. There's more than just We Shine and Park Rose. There's Providence and Gospel Mission and Feed the Mass, and it just goes on and on and on, and it brings the whole community together. And I think that's the sense of communal salvation Jesus was looking for. I think it's so cute.
So this is the scale model of our original prototype for the pods, the standard size pod in the Riper Village. And at this point, the design has shifted some. So there will be a little bit bigger windows, a little bit lower down. And we want to make sure that there's light coming in from two directions. So I'm not sure this window by the door is staying. I haven't seen the final plans, but we still have two windows, but they're a little bit bigger and a little bit lower. We have changed the covered front porch to a covered front patio. So they'll still have a covered private place to come out and be outside, have their own little space, but it'll be more wheelchair accessible. We won't have to put as much of a step up to the inside. So we have a standard size that's 8 by 8 and a larger size that's 8 by 10. That's suitable for 2 people or a woman and 2 small children or a person that uses a wheelchair, so a bigger size.
I am so proud to be both a member of Park Rose Community United Church of Christ and the executive director of Snowcap. And I would not be involved with Snowcap were it not for this church. I was born into the church, and we were one of the founding congregation of Snowcap. And every day, all year round, we distributed food, clothing, other basic needed items for people. And it feels so good to be part of a congregation that not only talks the talk in church on Sunday, but that throughout the week we can see volunteers, Lucille and Tub and Doug and Blair and Sharon and so many others come and participate every week. But also our church is the first one to sign up when there's a need, when it's Supertunity making soup packets or oatmeal packets that we distribute in our pantry, whether it's sending funds to support something that's needed, hosting a donation drop-off. Park Rose has such a huge heart for service and being sort of the hands and feet of Jesus and living out our faith through works. And it's something to be really proud of.
we as Christians, as people of faith who live in the Hebrew tradition of Jonathan and David and the Christian tradition of Jesus, we need to get better at this. At naming our relationships and being trusting and responsible with trustworthy and responsible to each other. And I really believe that this kind of relationship and these kinds of communities, of covenant communities, may be the only thing that will save humanity in the coming years. I was grateful to hear that you are already beginning to build that kind of language and thinking into your relationships with each other here. As you consider, what does it mean to be a member of this community, and how are we going to be responsible to each other as members of this community, and how are we going to be trustworthy with each other, and how are we going to name our responsibilities with each other in the presence of God, who is love, who is powerful love, is present in these relationships, holding us and guiding us and giving us strength. I want to be the church of powerful love. The beloved community that Martin Luther King Jr. talked about. And I believe that if we are going to be communities of powerful love, then we have to be trusting and trustworthy and responsible. And we have to name what we're responsible for and be responsible for the things that we name that we're responsible for, and be in relationships of mutuality, the kind of love that the Hebrew scriptures talk about. And I believe that if we do this, that we actually can be the hope for humanity. Amen.